Good afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning, back from a reporting trip to the Spokane fires. Coming up, we'll hear about how people are recovering from fires in their own neighborhood. First, here are today's top stories. It's Monday, August 10th. As wildfires continue to ravage east and central Washington, Governor Bob Ferguson today unveiled a new emergency proclamation that suspends a number of state laws for residents affected by the blazes. Among the many actions the order takes, it broadens eligibility for the state's disaster cash and housing assistance programs, loosens requirements for receiving unemployment benefits, and helps people secure new vital personal documents, such as driver's licenses, at no cost if they were lost in the fire. Over here in western Washington, a wildfire burning in the northeast corner of Mount Rainier National Park has closed campgrounds and some trails. The Grand Park 2 fire is estimated at 300 acres with 0% containment. That fire started Friday about 3 miles north of the Sunrise Visitor Center. Park officials have closed the Sunrise area and White River Campground until further notice, as well as the roads that connect them to State Route 410. Highway 410 itself remains open. After a calmer weekend than expected in Spokane, authorities there have let many wildfire evacuees return home. Fire Incident Commander Tom Clemo says teams in hazmat suits will spend the next few days doing final cleanup work in the remaining Level 3 evacuation zones.
Every one of these residential homes pose a significant threat to the community, not just because of the heat, but because of the materials that were burned in, everyday modern homes.
City officials are also urging people who return to flush out their pipes before drinking the tap water. We're going to hear more from Spokane in a few minutes. In election news today, one purple district in southwest Washington got even more interesting in the last week. Democratic incumbent Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is up for re-election, but about a third of Democratic voters went for someone else in last week's primary election. They tended to go for progressive Democrat Brent Henrich. Aaron Covey is an analyst for the nonpartisan Cook Political Report. A question that's top of mind now for her is how much of a liability will this be in November when Gluesenkamp-Perez faces Republican State Senator John Braun?
Look, the folks who voted for Henrich, they're not going to vote for John Braun in November. But if enough of them stay home or just skip the ballot because they can't bring themselves to vote for her, then that could be an issue.
But she says in an election year trending in Democrats' favor nationally, in a district that's been moving in that same direction, Braun faces an uphill battle. In big local news, the Gates Foundation will donate more than $500 million to support public health research at the University of Washington. The $540 million grant will be the largest in school history. The Seattle Times reports that the money will support the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation's study of global health trends over the next decade. And the Renton City Council has voted to cover all 24 of its Flock automated license plate reader cameras. The city had already turned the cameras off in May, but voted last week to cover them over concerns about transparency and trust. The move follows Washington's new Driver Privacy Act, which took effect in March and sharply restricts how license plate cameras can be used. A couple short stories of note. Washington health officials are warning that measles cases are increasing as families prepare for back to school. The State Department of Health says Washington's had 53 confirmed measles cases so far this year. The most recent cases were in Clark County. And in our book lovers corner, Washington has a new state librarian. She's Melody Skyweaver of Port Townsend, and she's worked in public libraries for over 20 years. The state librarian oversees the state's talking book and braille library services for people who are incarcerated or in the hospital, and the Tumwater Research Library. Now for our feature story today. It's been 9 days since wildfires broke out in North Spokane, sending thousands of people fleeing for safety. No casualties have been reported, and the Spokane complex of fires are now roughly 50% contained. A suspect in the fires has been charged with arson. For hundreds of victims, the road to recovery will be a long one. I spent the weekend in Spokane talking with victims. Here are some of their stories. It's 100 degrees out, sauna dry, and winds are blowing around the smoky air. Bobby hasn't been seen in 6 days. He's a black cat.
Well, this is the first day that we've come back since the fire, so we wanted to see what it looked like, and we're mostly looking for our cat.
Bobby's owner, Venus Allison, was able to get their other cat and 2 dogs evacuated, but not Bobby in time when a wildfire came through their peaceful North Spokane neighborhood. As for what it looks like, their home's gone. She already knew this from neighbors sending photos. Spokane's Indian Trails neighborhood was hit hard by the Old Trails fire. It's a suburban area with a lot of new development, manicured lawns, covered front porches, and a view of a field. But now public officials have used war zone and apocalyptic to describe this and other hard-hit neighborhoods.
Man, we saw the fire miles and miles away before it jumped the river. And we're like, man, something bad is going down. And once it jumped the river, it came so fast. So we quickly packed go bags with just minimal stuff in it.
Houses on the block adjacent to hers are still standing, but they're covered in a blanket of pink flame retardant that was dropped in haste by fire crews. 1 mile directly south, Andy McKean and his wife have been raising their kids in a quiet cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we're in the midst of learning how to drive, so that's a whole nother fright.
They have 4 kids, 3 of them still at home, twin soccer players and a skilled painter who's about to head to college. They were away from home when the fire started, but the 17-year-old daughter and her grandma made a mad dash back to get their dog Debo a half hour before their street got evacuated. Mere hours later, the block was decimated.
We all went back, not until I think the next day. We were able to get in and see it in the daylight, and that was pretty tough.
McKean says it's just overwhelming. That's a feeling that's common among fire victims right now. It's all overwhelming. The house is gone. You need to find a rental. Soccer practice starts soon. You're dealing with insurance. You're going back to work.
The kids have 15 to 20 friends that we know of. There's probably more that lost their homes. They're in a pretty terrible position as well, so just feel terrible for everybody. It's terrible.
An old motto in Spokane goes, near nature, near perfect. Riverside State Park is one of the reasons, with the Spokane River bounding past it and trails through ponderosa pine forests. The Old Trails fire swept through this state park and went on to burn neighborhoods. But Spokane, a forested city of 230,000 people, is not used to wildfires. Spokane hasn't dealt with a fire of this gravity since 1991, and before that, 1889. But the city jumped into action in the past week as if it were a well-oiled fire relief machine.
Okay, ticket number 561261. Oh, we got a winner! Woo! Come on up here.
Miss Sparkles, a.k.a. Nicole Beam, threw a free event for wildfire victims and firefighter families on Saturday. With all the stress, she wanted kids to have a few hours to forget about their troubles. Beam, a professional face painter for 13 years, has Disney princesses posing for photos, games, a foam machine, and a free raffle with donations from businesses around Spokane.
Parents always put on such a strong face and a brave face. So I want the parents to be able to relax for a little bit. They don't have to carry the burden alone. Their community is here to help them. And we want to just forget about it for an afternoon. Smile, sparkle.
Okay, reach in there and pull one out.
Fundraisers and donation drives have done so well, some are stopping collections so they can focus on getting the goods into people's hands. Relief's also coming in small batches, from a lemonade stand on the South Hill and thrift store clothing drives, $5,000 raised by Spokane Pride, and 15,000 pounds of supplies trucked over by Seattle breweries. So, what comes next? It starts with small things. Venus Allison walks her torched sidewalk, calling out for Bobby.
And he's beautiful and black, and he used to be a street cat. So I have high hopes that he's going to just come meowing to us going, where have you been?
People have put pet food and water on most blocks. Scraps, the local animal rescue, has been through Indian trails several times looking for the lost. Next comes a deeper dive of the rubble that remains of people's homes.
I wake up in a panic remembering something else we lost just this morning. I remembered that I have my mom, she's 92 and she's in assisted living. I have her wedding ring with so many diamonds. I should say. But also my husband and I's wedding rings burned up because we were waiting to get them resized.
Andy McKean has had those moments too.
There's been a couple of times that something has popped into my head that the kids made. My daughter's a really talented artist, and my office was kind of a shrine to her work.
Both families are wondering if or when they'll be able to rebuild. Allison's heard it'd take 3 to 4 years. McKean has heard 2 to 3.
But, that's really only part of it, because the neighborhood, I can't imagine, is really going to recover. I think even really look like a real neighborhood for probably 5 years, if I had to guess.
The city is already starting to do some recovery work. Waste disposal and utility trucks are out making rounds. Evacuation orders are starting to ease. A business marquee captures the moment with the words, "Pain is real, but so is hope." In Spokane, I'm Paige Browning, KUOW News. Next time on Seattle Now, months before the devastating wildfires in Spokane, the city held a mass evacuation drill. We'll hear from an expert on why it's essential to practice getting out.
Often what we see is that people underestimate the time it takes to actually evacuate. But under duress situations where you're panicking, your cat's going crazy, you can't get them in the crate, these things take much, much longer.
Hear more Tuesday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers. I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Hope your week's off to a great start. We'll see you later.